If you want to see a hospital bill with just one line, kidnappers who are infinitely more interesting than their victims, and a barely literate writer who thinks that signing an agreement with your in-law to divorce their son is a legally binding document. The highly controversial The Head, produced and directed by Daniel Etim Effiong, is the movie for you. This movie, which is currently showing on Netflix Africa, is incredibly fortunate because it's going viral at the moment. Not because of extraordinary writing or whatever, but because it's based on the lived experience of thousands of Nigerians at the hands of northern bandits, and was released right in the midst of global attention to what has been termed a Christian genocide in northern Nigeria. So this means that The Head has been rallied against and dismissed out of hand, and there have been calls for banning by people who didn't even watch a second of it. Well, fortunately for you, I did. So let's talk about it. Also, congrats to Daniel that his first production is making such waves, because the story alone certainly would not have done it. Our movie opens up at a wedding between Fola and Derry. We follow Gossi, Fola's best man, played by Daniel Etimeffiong, whose wife. So, you people are telling me that this woman is not Bimbo Ademoye. Damn! Now, wow. Gossi, whose wife has just rediscovered another lump in her breast and is worried that her cancer had returned, and wondering how they will be able to afford the treatment. Now, she's only calm when her husband tells her that he has 25 million naira parked in an account somewhere. And this storyline is soon sidelined as Gossi, Fola the groom, and the new bride, Derry, are attacked by bandits who are posing as Fulani headsmen on their way back to their hotel. Fola is killed immediately, and Gossi and his bestie's bride are abducted, along with other road users. There's even a youth copper in the mix, feature character Naomi. Into this whole picture comes Detective Babagana, a police officer with the State Department Security, whatever the hell that means, whose wife has just given birth. Now, they seem to have some money problems, but somehow he's convinced that solving this kidnap case would lead to a promotion, and then they could move to Lagos and have the life that they've always wanted. I don't know, man. It just seems like a lot of hope on just one promotion level. Lagos ke. Because your salary increased by 50k. Unless you better start planning on how to use your gun for armed robbery and kidnapping. They even make a point of showing us the hospital bill when it arrives. And guess what? This scene, it means nothing. This is the last time we'll ever hear of this man's maybe money troubles. But you see, the hospital bill itself is a work of art, truly. It has exactly one line that says child delivery and then a cost of 450k. That's all. Which makes me understand that the clown who made this movie had never ever seen even a pharmacy receipt before. Just to be clear, there is no way you get a bill from a hospital with one line. They tell you about the services, not child delivery. This is such a simple thing that let's just move on. So the kidnappers quickly traumatize Gossi and his and Darren by forcing Gossi to cut up his friend's corpse so that they can sell it in pieces to these buyers wearing these awkward and super uncomfortable looking masks. Are they selling these things for rituals? Are they selling it for pepper soup? I have no idea. They begin calling the victims' families and demanding ransoms. They made sure that the victims would not think about escaping by shooting one of them who thought that he was going to use the excuse of going to pee to escape. I'm not exactly sure how the plan was supposed to work. I mean, I as a kidnapper would just ask you to pee inside your cage there. Why would I take you into the bush? Like, am I insane? And one of the sexually starved kidnappers really wants to molest our bride, Daring. But his guy is adamant that they should collect the ransom first. I'm not sure why they can't just molest her before taking the ransom. I mean, how does it prevent the ransom from being paid? It's possible that the filmmakers maybe did not want to trigger people with that kind of scene, but it could have been off camera. But in general, the reason that was given was just completely nonsensical. The kidnappers also have a weird sense of honor. I mean, they say things like, we can't steal from our victims, but we can maybe sometimes kill them and cut up their bodies. They also call Gossi's wife Adama. But the thing is, she's in another state. So for some reason, the police don't even think to contact her and ask about if she has been contacted by the kidnappers, even though they know that her husband was definitely kidnapped, which is weird. She's supposed to bring 25 million, which she doesn't have. But recall that her husband had very awkwardly stated at the beginning of the movie that he had 25 million in an account somewhere. Writing, ladies and gentlemen. She heads to the bank but is refused access to his account. And by the way, see the way that the filmmakers blurred out the name of the bank, which I know is UBA at Marina. But they don't even replace it with something else. So, and by doing it so awkwardly, they made this movie feel more like an Instagram skit. I mean, who does that? The distraught woman then makes her way to her husband's co-founder office in whatever company that they run together to ask for the 25 million. Now, this dude wants to help with the ransom, but then he discovered that the company is missing 25 million naira, which was withdrawn by Gossi, who forged his signature. Now, the storyline is very confusing, so let me just address it now before it turns my head upside down. Gossi's wife had cancer once, understood. But after the treatment, Gossi then stole 25 million from his own company for no reason that we can tell. But don't forget, all of this happened before the wife even rediscovers the cancer. It is only now that the co-founder discovered that the money is actually missing from the company account. So the filmmakers try to make it seem like Gossi stole the money in order to treat his wife's cancer, but they seem to have forgotten that he stole it before his wife discovered the cancer. Our hero, Gossi, is basically a common criminal, right? Now, while all this victim stuff is happening, we get an insight into the politics within the kidnapper group itself. The leader of the kidnappers, Halil, had only recently just broken away from a larger group ruled by a kingpin known as the Sheikh. Now, Halil had even managed to take some of the Sheikh's boys, and this kidnapping would actually be his first full operation, which is probably why they ended up maybe killing too many of the victims. The Sheikh tracks him down and scolds him. He declares that this entire region is his territory and refuses to give our kidnapper any rights. Now, after pretending to some morality over their cutting and selling of body parts, he decides to take 80% of the body parts money. This doesn't go down well with our kidnapper Halil, who ends up killing the Sheikh and cementing his position as the leader of this territory. Now, see this scene where Sheikh is killed. I found it funny how he just turned his back completely to Halil after insulting and slapping him, even though the door was to his right. Did he intend to actually walk into the wall? Very, very awkward invitation to murder. Now, Adama, Gossi's wife, after another call with the kidnappers and hearing from her husband, decides that she will approach his parents for money, even though for some reason her husband refuses. So she goes to the parents' house, and to be honest, I struggled to find the point of this conversation. So let me explain. Adama tells them about the kidnap and the instruction not to involve the police. And then the three of them begin to talk nonsense about how Gossi married an Osu, an Igbo outcast, and chose her over them, so he's basically not their son anymore or something. Even though a second before, the father was angry that Adama had not come to him immediately the guy was kidnapped. Then the next thing, they are asking her to leave the house. I was so confused. Do you want to help your son or not? Adama then suddenly shocks everyone by saying that she will divorce Gossi if they give her the ransom money. For some reason, this interests them. The writers then make the stupidest decision I've seen this year. Gossi's father asks Adama to sign an agreement to that effect. At this point, I was just fed up with this scene. Like, what kind of a stupid plot point is this? Like, do the writers not know that such an agreement is legally unenforceable in any court of law in the world? The fact that this is a plot point in this movie shows that the writer may have been like, was he missing some chromosomes? Because there's no way this came out of a fully developed mind. Just because you signed something, you know what? Let me just paste what I wrote on IG by watching this scene on the screen. My issue with this plot is that it is pivotal to her getting the money. So I really can't ignore the premium stupidity that is on display. By the way, if you're not following me on IG, you are missing a lot. I usually post IG stories with my real thoughts while watching the movies that I may sometimes end up reviewing. Like I reviewed My Mother is a Witch while watching it, but I had to give it up in order to do The Head. So, join the train and say hello. So let's hurry to the end because I have to go and argue about whether there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria with a clown who swears that we are all in this together. Now, Adama gets the ransom money from her in-laws and go drop it at the proposed location. The kidnappers had also asked the other family members of the victims to drop it at the same location but at different times. So the police were basically watching that place now. Adama drops the money in two very empty-looking bags, and the police chase one of the boys who picked it up and discover that he's a decoy, as in the bag was full of plastic bottles. I don't understand. Did the kidnappers tell Adama to fill one bag with plastic bottles? Why? If they did, when the decoy bag never arrives, should the kidnappers then not have suspected that something bad was in the offing. Anyway, the police end up in a gunfight with the people collecting the money on behalf of the kidnappers. Back at the kidnap camp, the followers of the sheikh who Halil murdered a few scenes ago, they had come to investigate his disappearance. Apparently, Halil's wife had privately confessed to them that her husband had killed their oga because she did not want trouble. Not sure how that was really supposed to work. And I tell you, why these two people were squabbling. Our two main characters, Gussie and Derry, just get up and scamper away in full view of several armed men. I'm telling you, it was like a skit. The men just watched them distractedly for a bit before Halil asked his guys to pursue them. Like, this is just purely unbelievable writing. Why not have the main characters run when the two factions of the kidnappers maybe actually start fighting or something and are too distracted to look at the victims? Like, what? God. The next thing, Halil and his men, well, actually, his man, just one person, for some reason, are tied up around a tree, and the other faction leader tells one of the kidnapped victims to stone them. This is the last we ever hear of these people. Like, incredibly, that's it. Their entire plot point just ends. We don't see them again. Meanwhile, Gussie and Darren finally reunite with the police and his wife, who had just dropped the ransom. I like how the police found his location by tracing the phone he borrowed to call his wife, but they couldn't trace the kidnappers' phones when they were calling for ransom. And I think the kidnappers even used the victim's phone sometimes, but the police just decided to unlock for some reason. The police don't even ask Gussie to lead them back to the kidnapper den that they had just escaped from so that they could rescue the other victims. Like, they just drove off with him and the woman. At the very end, they show Gussie's rich parents watching on as he reunites with his wife. And the writer offers up one final dose of stupidity by having them say things like,
I thought I knew what I wanted, but I lied. I'll do chemo.
Bro, what? Is that like the most important thing to you? I had even forgotten that she had cancer. Are you people silly? Is this woman like a real actress that they paid to say these lines? God. Gussie's parents are not left out of this nonsense as they close out the film by saying,
she's a good woman.
Yes, she is. A deal is a deal.
What? Are you people insane? You not even hug the boy, not hug your son. You're saying a deal is a deal. If she's a good woman, why would you even still think about the deal? Why is it a thing? Like, I hope for the love of God that the writer of this scene doesn't actually believe that things that are written and signed are backed by like the Holy Spirit or something, because I don't understand this fascination with a divorce agreement that is not worth the paper it is written on. Like, truly, these filmmakers may be some of the laziest people in Africa. Like, nobody is ever interested in the least bit of research. I had to check the writer of this movie because while I know that movies can get way off the writer's vision, this particular divorce agreement point was very central to this movie. So it definitely had to have been actually written by someone. And so without teaching us anything else, the movie just ends. Okay then, let's get back to the verdict. Funny enough, the most interesting part of this movie is the kidnappers' plot line. Their internal squabbling and factional infighting was quite well shot, pretty well written and engaging. It's not perfect, but we can trace how Halil is gradually losing control of the group that he is leading on their first mission. I also like their acting too. I don't know, probably maybe because I didn't understand the language. And the movie just becomes sort of 10 times better anytime the kidnappers are on screen. On the other hand, our main characters, Gussie and Derry, bored me. Like, I didn't really know or care enough about them. Like, if they had died, I don't know, man. That cancer conversation with Gussie's wife occurred in the first 2 minutes of the movie, and I really didn't have time to care about him or his woman. Also, is he not just a thief that stole his company's money? I don't care. Same situation goes for Derry, played by Genevieve Ume. I really didn't have time to, like her or to know her much before she was kidnapped, pretty much in the first 5 minutes or so. And she didn't really do anything in captivity to make me really root for her. I just kept honestly waiting for the camera to move back to the kidnapper so that I can, enjoy the Hausa. At the end, we don't really even know what happens with Halil and his faction. I'm guessing maybe they died, or even to the other kidnapped victims. The police were near them when they rescued Gussie. I don't know. In fact, during the end credits, we even see this copper who escaped earlier just running in the bush. Like, to what purpose? To where? Why did they show this at the end credits? Is the movie not complete? Is it a documentary? Let's even ask about the detective Babagana. Like, was he able to pay his wife's hospital bill? Why did they show us the 450K? Nobody knows, not even the writer. Daniel Etim Effiong, the director and producer of The Head, is incredibly lucky that his movie came out at a time where it could be perfectly controversial. So I honestly hope that he makes a hell of a lot of money from the controversy, because he's definitely not going to make it from the actual storyline of the movie. I have to give it to him. He was very smart in naming the movie The Herd, even though it doesn't actually contain any heads people, any headsmen. And I'm going to assume that the head is like a metaphor for the abductees. So maybe a head of victims or something. I don't know. But the name doesn't mean anything to the movie. And I kind of like how he used it to kind of garner attention for the movie. I'll rate this movie a 2.5/5 because the kidnappers scene end up carrying the rest of the movie on their back. Daniel Effiong is honestly outshined in his own movie by people I'd never seen before. And I don't think Genevieve had really had enough of a character to play. There are many loose ends that are basically forgotten by the end. And that whole divorce signing thing it will probably just piss me off for the rest of my days. In fact, because of that divorce thing, let's just go to like 2.2/5. Rubbish. This movie has and finally taken the energy that I would have used to review My Mother is a Witch. But if you really still want to see that review and, listen to how I believe that Timini Egbuson can't possibly be a real actor that is actually paid to act, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, then you also like these two that are showing up on your screen right now. So do check them out. And please follow me on IG and X or Twitter at Ekwe Reviews. All right, then. See you on the next one.